Lights, camera, action. This value and this integrity comes because of this 100-year story of yours. What is this 100-year story?
So my great-grandmother, she used to go to the forest and she used to collect these herbs. She used to make these skin lotions and medicines, and she used to sell it in the village, and that's how she educated her children.
How does ENTOD have a position in this industry?
Pharma company is not just about making and selling a medicine. It's about raising a public awareness. We're not here just to make a quick buck. Whatever we do, we genuinely do it for our people.
So what are the first few things you kind of tried to bring a revolution in?
First thing I tried to bring in was discipline and being punctual. In Indian offices, what I used to see is that people sit for 45 minutes having tea and having a random discussion, come on time and leave on time, because people have a life beyond work.
Hello and welcome to Pills in a Pod, a podcast where we feature healthcare leaders, game changers, and change makers. For today's guest, I'm going to give you a clue. They're a 100-year-old company and they have a dominance in ENT and ophthalmology and derma. And the company's name is ENTOD, E-N-T-O-D. It comes from ear, nose, throat, ophthalmology, derma. To introduce today's guest, we have none other than Nikkhil Masurkar, CEO and Managing Director of ENTOD. Hi Nikhil, and welcome to Pills in a Pod. It's great to have you here, and I was really looking forward to this one.
Thanks a lot, Aleem. It's a pleasure to be here and be part of your podcast. So looking forward to this.
Nikhil, let's start from how we normally like to take this start. Let's talk about your upbringing, your childhood, and finally, how did you get to pharma?
So, since childhood, I've been very academically inclined. Very simple child, I would say. Didn't have any great plans, was very shy, was very reserved, didn't quite know what I want to do in life, wasn't very social, that was basically my childhood in school. I only opened up when I went to the UK to study, when I did my A-levels, when I was, kind of introduced to the real world, if I could call that. And that's where I became more independent. I kind of got out of my shell. That's when I kind of realized, that I could get into, pharmacy. That's how I kind of, got into the profession of pharmaceuticals. I then went into university, did pharmacy there, and eventually came back to India to join the family business.
Lovely. But I'm sure pharma, ophthalmology, medicine was always dinner time conversations.
It was, although I don't think I paid attention to it because it was talked about so often at home. I remember my father coming home and playing these surgical eye videos. In those days, he used to sell these surgical needles, and he used to make me watch it, and I was absolutely not interested. So I think my dad did his best to try and tell me what he was doing. But when you're a kid and you have other things on your mind, that's the last thing that you want to know about. But I think somewhere it got into my subconscious mind. And which kind of showed up later in life.
And what were the other options you were contemplating? Cricket?
Nothing. I was completely clueless. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no specific interests, at least in school. All I knew is that I was strong in science. I was very strong in chemistry. I remember chemistry was my favorite subject, still is now. That's all I knew. So I was only thinking about the academic side of things. I had no idea professionally what I would do. Even the thought of joining the family business in those days was like a far-fetched thought. I was like, I just didn't have that confidence or that energy in me to even think that I'm going to do it.
And then you said you went to the UK, obviously. So now, what did you study there? How was your journey like over there?
The UK was, the place that actually made the person I am today, because it made me very independent. I started interacting with people my own age. Before that, I was very reserved. I wasn't very social, as I said at the start. I then, when I went into university, that's when I was exposed to a great world of scientists, of researchers, great friends. And that's what got my confidence really high. And that's when I realized that, now I could actually at some point go back and be part of the family business. So that place made me, it taught me management skills, it taught me the technical skills, and it made me into a more confident human being.
But once people go to the UK, they come back to their family businesses. There's something they want to change. While you've learned so much, there is legacy on one side, there is structure on one side, and then there is expectation on the other side. And then there is your own thought, I want to change everything. So what was it like stepping into ENTOD, where, probably things had a set way of working?
So when I came from the UK, it was obviously there's a UK way of working. I had worked there for a few years, so there is a certain kind of work ethics in the UK, which is not the same here in India. So I had to adapt. But I remember my dad telling me that when you come to India, just learn the ways of how business is done in India. Don't make any change. Don't even think of changing anything. First, understand the system. Once you are in the system, once you understand how things are done, then you can start making the change. So be patient in that. First, observe. And after you observe, you will learn the way of doing things in India. And then you can inculcate some kind of positive change. And that's what I did.
But at some point of time, you would have felt, okay, TK, enough. Now I want to challenge something. I want to change something. So what are the first few things you kind of tried to bring a revolution in?
See, actually, the first thing I tried to bring in was discipline. And being punctual. Like in India, when you say come at 9, people are like, 9:30 I will come.
Yeah.
It's not like that. So, in the office, for example, the staff, to make sure they all come on time, that when they have their breaks, they have it on time. Otherwise, in Indian offices, what I used to see is that people sit for 45 minutes having tea and having a random discussion. There is no efficiency. That's what I realized in those days. So that's what I try to bring in: good discipline, and come on time and leave on time. I don't want anyone to stay till 8-9 o'clock at night. I want them to go back at 5:36 whenever the office closes, because people have a life beyond work. So those are the things I initially tried to put in place. I wasn't successful initially, because it takes a while to change a mindset. But eventually we managed to bring in those systems, and now we are much more disciplined than what we were 10-15 years ago.
Now, Nikhil, coming to ENTOD, obviously, ear, nose, throat, ophthalm, derma, beautiful acronym of the entire industry and the therapy areas that you all cater to. When you look at this entire pharma industry dominated by giants over here, how does ENTOD have a position in this industry? What do you do differently that makes you relevant in today's age?
See, I think a pharma company is not just about making and selling a medicine. It's about raising a public awareness in certain areas of healthcare. It's about building trust with the public, with the doctors, with your stakeholders. It's the entire ecosystem. So I think where ENTOD stands out is, it's innovation with a heart and a soul. We're not here just to make a quick buck. We're not here to please a few investors that, in 3 years we've reached XYZ numbers. We are here for a lifetime. So when you have a lifetime, or I would say generational aspiration, you think very differently. You think what is in the interest of your people. And I think that's what makes ENTOD stand out, is our values, our philosophy, that whatever we do, we genuinely do it for our people. There are so many ventures we have got into which are not even 100% profitable. But at the same time, there are ventures that we've got into which are very profitable. but we only take a call based on what is the right thing to do at the right time. Because we believe if you do something with an open heart, eventually you do well. You make a lot of profit.
I agree.
And then that profit can then go into philanthropy. It can go into growing your business. So we're not money minded. We're not like here to make fast money. And that's never been our philosophy. And when our stakeholders, our doctors, the people, the public realize that this is what ENTOD is about, they start actually respecting it. That this is not just some pharma company that is there to make fast money. They're there for a genuine reason, and they will always be with us, and they'll always add value to the healthcare pharma scene in India.
And Nikhil, this value and this integrity comes because of this 100-year story of yours. What is this 100-year story? Can you take us back to history?
So my great-grandmother, she lost her husband in a small village in Karnataka at a very young age. She, in order to make ends meet, she used to go to the forest and she used to collect these herbs. She used to make these skin lotions and medicines, these homemade remedies. And she used to sell it in the village, and that's how she educated her children. Then her medicines became popular in the neighboring villages, and in those days she became a household name in that part of coastal Karnataka. So my grandfather, that is her son, was really inspired by this journey. And he had, kind of thought to himself that he will also make medicines one day.
Oh, nice.
So he studied, he came to Mumbai, he studied pharmacy, he became one of the first few registered pharmacists in India. He joined the pharma industry. And then he eventually started ENTOD because his dream was to do what his mother did all those years ago. So that is the legacy that we are following. And then my dad carried forward that legacy, and he basically made ENTOD into what it is today. And now I'm trying to do the same. So I think, legacy is not a privilege, it's a responsibility. And at the day you realize it's a very serious responsibility, you don't feel kind of complacent about it, So my dad has always taught me that, we are doing it because my grandfather started something, so we have to do it for him. Not because I'm privileged enough that, I'm in a family where we're doing it for 100 years. So the 100-year legacy is a great responsibility, and that's something that we take very seriously, and that's what drives us on a daily basis.
But from a child who was not serious about this, and then suddenly this came to you, did it dawn on you? Did it gradually grow on you? Did you have an aha moment?
See, when I was in the UK, I used to often visit India for holidays. And during that time, my dad used to make it a point, to come to the office here and there. He never forced me. He said, just come because you're bored at home. So I used to go to the office, and then I used to see him work. I used to see the team. And that's when something clicked in me that what am I doing in the UK? Like my dad is literally doing it by himself. And my grandfather was alive at that time. And my grandfather not even one day told me to join the business. But he told me what he did. He told me all his struggles. And I saw my dad also doing the same. And that's when I realized that, I think I need to come back. So it was a kind of a Eureka moment for me where I realized that, I need to make that move. I need to contribute to the family business. I need to be a part of it. I actually left a really good life to come here. I was very happy there. I was very settled. There was nothing for me to, leave everything and come. I only came because I felt that there was a responsibility, So it came naturally to me.
Interesting. Nikhil, what I hear is you're very passionate about myopia. Why myopia? Is there some history to it? Is it something that you've just seen in your life? What is ENTOD's commitment towards myopia, and why?
So, see, myopia is basically short-sightedness where children can't see, distant objects like the blackboard or the whiteboard, right? It's kind of called as the silent pandemic in India. 1 in every 4 children in India have myopia, as per the latest estimates. By 2047, when India aspires to be a developed nation, if nothing is done about it, 1 in every 2 children will be myopic. Now, the problem with myopia is that, your minus number kind of goes up. so that by the time you're, say, 18, 19 years old, you become what doctors call as high myopic. If you're high myopic, you have all kinds of other eye problems that could happen. You may get early cataracts, you may get early glaucoma, you may get retinal problems. So basically, you're damaging your eyesight and your vision, and it can be prevented. So it's a preventable, measure by treating myopia. So that is why myopia is very close to my heart, and also all the eye doctors in India and all over the world. If you ask them what is the most serious concern they would have, they would all say it's myopia. Now, what makes myopia worse, or kind of what triggers it, is one is obviously there is a family history aspect to it. The second is now children are using smart screens like never before. The screen exposure is on a different level now. So in many ways, our eyes, or our children's eyes, are in uncharted territory and under unprecedented strain and stress. The damage that will cause is also, very alarming. So this is why it's a very important area and it's close to our heart. And we started developing myopia treatments way back in 2015. When no one talked about it. There was no market, there was no industry. In fact, everyone told us not to get into this, is nonsense, it's not even going to take off.
Yeah.
But we were in touch with doctors, we had a belief that it is going to become a big thing, and it did. And today our myopia therapies is our number one product value-wise. So I think, sometimes you need to think beyond. Right now, I'm thinking about what's going to happen 2030 onwards. So we start planning for it now. So if you have that kind of a mindset, which I've adopted from my dad and my grandfather, I think you can plan for the future, and you start doing the right things.
And what would you tell mothers watching this show? What should they take care of, especially when it comes to children and who could be having myopia or who could prevent myopia?
See, firstly, I would tell mothers, I'm not a doctor, but I would tell mothers to take their children to an eye doctor at least once a year, even if they don't report any eye problems. The problem with myopia is that if a child can't see the blackboard, they will not even tell the parent that they can't see. They think it's normal. They have never experienced good vision. So we know what is normal, what is not normal. A child doesn't know. So unless you ask the child, oh, can you see something at a distance, the child will say, yes, I can see. But then you show them a better vision, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know I could see that well. So firstly, take the child to a doctor, an eye doctor, say from age 4 onwards, every year for a basic checkup. And there these things can be diagnosed early, they could be monitored, they could be treated. And with these conditions, the earlier you look into it, the earlier you get treated, the better it is, the better prospects the child would have when it comes to their vision. So that's my only message. Go to the eye doctor. The eye doctor, India has one of the best eye doctors in India. In fact, some of the best pediatric eye doctors in India, in the world. So, use that facility, use that kind of, medical infrastructure that we have. And look after your children's health.
That's a great piece of advice. I mean, we try to go to the dentist once a year and do a checkup, but rarely do we go to an ophthalmologist and get our eyes checked. I think that's something that really we should pay attention to. I'm going to shift gears now, Nikhil, and going to ask you, you're a young entrepreneur, and if you had to hit pause and just say what genuinely frustrates you about the pharmaceutical industry, what would be those 3 or 4 things?
See, I think what frustrates me in a way is also an opportunity for the future. It would be the fact that, in many ways, it's kind of like a Me Too market. It's a copy-paste market. Everyone wants to do the same thing and they want to get onto the bandwagon. And to some extent, that has been okay in terms of growing the industry from, a volume perspective. But for India to be a $450 billion pharma industry, we need to move up the value chain. And for that, we need to innovate. We need to have our own branded, patented medicines. And for that, the industry needs to invest a lot in R&D. And all these years, that has not been happening. It's basically kind of like a low-cost generic, or I would say branded generic market, which stifles innovation. So for me, that mindset has always been a problem. And when I came into the business in, way back in 2011, I had to basically fight that mindset. I was very research focused. I'm a research pharmacist. Research has always been in my blood. And then to enter a scene where people just are not bothered about research. They're like, unnecessary, why are you wasting your time with all of this? Sell what sells and just be quiet. This bothered me. Luckily, after the pandemic, everyone woke up and we realized we're on our own. Neither the US is going to come to bail us out tomorrow if there's a pandemic, right, which we saw, or neither is anyone else. We are on our own. So then this mindset automatically started to change. So my frustrations got a bit got more relieved. So that is something that has frustrated me for a long time. But luckily, I think we are on the right track now. The industry is innovating. We're going on the right track. And I'm glad to have led that change, at least in my segment of ophthalmology, where we started ophthalmic research long ago before others got into this in a big way.
And does the other part of the industry frustrate you, which means the selling side of it and the whole controversies that happen on maybe the other parts of this industry?
See, I mean, I think marketing and sales, I don't think we can criticize India. The same thing happens in the US on a much larger scale. In fact, I am very critical of the way medicines are sold in the US. So I'm not here to criticize what happens here, but there's always a scope for improvement. Now you have the UCPMP marketing guidelines, which I think is a great way forward for the industry. The marketing practices have to be more ethical. I've always stood for this, and I've always pushed it. Even when I first came, I felt it was quite a, kind of a dirty market in a way. Yeah. So you don't feel proud to be a part of a market where, all these practices are happening, not just in India, but all over the world. So I think the industry is cleaning up now, and it's a good thing. Our field force, the pharma workforce is getting more qualified, more trained, more upskilled. And I think in the next 5 years, you will see a huge change in the pharma industry in India. So I think it's all positive.
Yeah, great. Nikhil, if I gave you a blank canvas, a decade, and 5 impacts you'd like to make on the pharma industry, what would be those 5 impacts you'd like to change?
I think firstly, to inculcate a research mindset, especially in the young pharma entrepreneurs, either in pharma or medtech or health tech, whichever area, have a mind of innovation and be bold to innovate. That is what I want to inculcate into those rising stars. The second is to become more kind of an ethical pharma industry. So want to talk in such a way to motivate people to market products in the right way, without getting involved in illegal practices and all of those things. The third would be is to don't always follow the market, follow what therapeutic need there is. You won't believe it, there are so many therapeutic gaps in India which are unmet. And those therapeutic needs are not there in the US. We simply take a molecule from the US and launch it here because we want to make a quick buck, without realizing there may not be even a need for it. So there are a lot of medical conditions which are more India-centric, which are not US-centric, for which no one does any work. A classic example is, say, fungal keratitis, right? Fungal infection of the eyes. It is not a US problem, but it is more of an Indian and an Asian problem. And not many people have been doing research into that. And we are the first ones to really get into it fully. So this is what I want to create an impact in. Then it would be also to kind of foster better collaboration between industry and academia. I've seen some amazing pharmacy colleges in India where you have some brilliant research minds. But unfortunately, there is a big gap between academia and what happens in industry. So I think pharma companies should collaborate better with research based pharmacy colleges, and also with research institutes. It should be a really good collaboration between academia, industry, and clinicians. And if you have that kind of collaboration, I think research is going to flourish. You will create a really healthy research ecosystem in India, you know. And I think the fifth thing would be basically for people to take, bold but calculated risks in the pharma sector. See, the US pharma industry did not flourish because somebody played it safe. They are very bold in innovation. We should learn from them. It's not just that something is going to sell, that they always innovate, they always research. If you see the number of new chemical entities that have been approved by the US FDA in the last 2 years, it is staggering. They don't stop when it comes to innovation. So we should have the same mindset. The advantage for India is that we can do it at a rock bottom price. We can make our innovations affordable and accessible to all, and not just a select few. This is the USP we have when you compare ourselves with the US, for example. And I think this is what impact I want to create in the industry.
But Nikhil, research is one thing, then finally going to market. It's a long process. What is it that we should change?
What we should change is we should know how to shout out about our research. I'll give you an example. Recently, I don't want to name any companies, you have foreign companies, trying to launch anti-obesity drugs in India. Look how they shout. Look what buzz they create, right? Indian companies should do the same. When we innovate, when we research, we should know how to market it. If we are poor marketeers, but really good researchers, it's not going to get us anywhere. So both the research aspect and the marketing aspect needs to be really strong. We've been trying to do it at our own level, and sometimes we are criticized for being a bit too vocal about our research, but it doesn't matter, because if we don't shout, others will not get inspired. There are so many good researchers in India, so many good research products in India. They simply are not getting any exposure because they don't know how to market themselves. So as much as we do research, we need to know how to sell the product ethically, and we need to know how to market it in such a way that you create a buzz globally.
But Nikhil, recently there was this talk about press Biopia, and there were these drops that were launched for press Biopia, and that press release actually backfired. So what is your opinion on that?
See, I think one aspect that I think is very important is that I feel that there is not much clarity in the industry about how we can publicize the release or the launch of a new medicine in India. If you look at the way the anti-obesity drugs have been promoted in India, there is a huge public awareness of it. Nobody said anything, right? But when Indian companies try and do something like that, they are invariably scrutinized, And I think this is a lesson for all of us. That one is that have clearer guidelines in terms of what you can say in a press conference, whether you can even have a press conference. No one knows this. This is a kind of a gray area, and it has been done for many years. Only thing is, because press Biopia is an issue which took everyone, which got everyone so excited, it became bigger than what it should have been, and there was a huge kind of a public excitement about it. There was a media, excitement as well. There was a media blitz about the whole thing. So when something like this happens, everyone just blames the pharma company, saying, "Arey, un logo ne kiya hai karke." But I think in this case, the best thing that happened, if you ask me, was that people started knowing what press Biopia is. No one knew. Doctors' OPDs were flooded because people were asking, press Biopia kya hai? So I think it was a win-win situation where, the awareness was created. Doctors were happy because doctors don't get that age group of patients even coming to them asking for something for press Biopia. And for press Biopia, there are many options. Many different options are there. And the therapeutic option is just one option. So I think we need more clarity. The industry needs more clarity, because in future, if another company in India develops something completely groundbreaking, something new, we don't want them to go through the same thing, because then it will stifle innovation. They'll be like, I can research, but if I talk about it, I'll get done. Or I don't even know how to talk about it. So I think that is a learning point for the industry, especially companies in the MSME segment, So as much as a company has to be, has to research, they need to have clarity on how they can speak on the research. They should have like in the US, for example, when a new product is approved, there is a press release done by the US FDA itself saying that, they have approved so and so.
Yeah.
Why can't that happen in India? Why do companies have to do the press release? Why can't the regulator do a press release? They have approved XYZ for the treatment of XYZ. That is the way forward, I think, and we should emulate that system in India so that it's a fair system, so that we don't have to talk too much. Everyone knows there is something new in India or in the world.
And Nikhil, talking about doctors now, do you actually go for a doctor call? Do you actually go visit doctors, meet them, talk to them, get a sense of it, sell your products?
See, I think my entire work is related to doctor engagement, right? Whatever we develop, whatever we innovate is because the doctors give us feedback, they give us ideas, they guide us in terms of what is needed in practice. Sitting in an office or in a lab, we'll have no clue what is needed in practice. So I go for regular field working. I call doctors to our R&D center regularly. We have brainstorming sessions where we really headbang in terms of what is needed in practice. Doctors tell us where the therapeutic gaps are. We learn about it. So I'm always very, kind of doctor focused. And whatever has happened in our company for the last, 48 years is because we've had a very strong engagement with doctors. So I'm not the kind of, CEO who would sit in an office and only make strategic kind of decisions. I like to get myself or get my hands dirty, and the best way to do it is to go on the field, work with my field force, understand what their issues are, understand what happens in a chemist shop, understand what is happening in a doctor's clinic. And that gives us the insight to have those right strategies in place that will allow you to grow and to have the right kind of products in your range.
But Nikhil, you being a CEO, obviously you'll get more screen time with the doctor, you'll get more time with them. What does the sales guy have to change? And what is your advice for the sales guy to kind of be more effective in the clinic?
See, it all comes down to training, right? The problem in India is that generally the pharma sales workforce isn't as qualified as, say, in the US or in other countries. So there is a need to upskill them, to train them. So staff training is everything. When a doctor knows that the MR, medical rep coming to him, also knows a lot of things, knows a bit about pharmacology, knows about how the medicine works, can talk to the doctor at his or her level, that discussion becomes very engaging. Otherwise, usually the doctor thinks, this guy doesn't know much, so I'll just say hi, bye, and, ask him to leave. There is no proper engaging or constructive discussion. So what we do in our company, for example, is that we train our team to understand even the whole aspect about the segment. About in ophthalmology, for example, what is cataract surgery, what is dry eyes, what is glaucoma, what are the new updates in glaucoma, so that the medical rep could have a meaningful conversation with the doctor. And the doctor appreciates somebody who is knowledgeable, right? I think knowledge is the most attractive thing for a doctor, right? And I think that engagement only happens when we train our teams. So now we've been, in the last 5 years, focusing a lot on staff training. It takes time. You can't overnight train your team. It's a period, it's a whole ecosystem of training and development that leads to your workforce becoming more upskilled. So that, I think, could be a game changer in the future.
Absolutely. Nikhil, you've been called the Elon Musk of the pharma industry. How do you react to such statements? Why Elon Musk? Why not Steve Jobs? I mean, I saw your WhatsApp status on Guru Purnima and you actually had a picture of Elon Musk along with your other gurus. What's this fascination?
See, I think the ultimate motivation comes from your own family. If somebody really genuinely wants to be motivated in life to do something, always look into your own family. It could be a grandfather, your father, it could be your mother who was a homemaker, or your grandmother who was a homemaker. Whatever inspiration you'll get from them will actually make you do things. Everything else is external, which could or could not, or which may or may not have any impact. So I think that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing about the whole kind of Elon Musk thing is, a few eye doctors many years ago had told me that, oh, you're kind of like the Elon Musk of our industry. At that time, I didn't even know who the man was.
Okay.
I then researched, went on Google, found out who he was, and then I found out everything what he did. So I started following him. I mean, at least the developments of some of the work that he did, right from his companies to the new technologies that he's developed and is developing now, and how he wants to change things. And I found him a very interesting character because he was very bold in his innovative ideas. A lot of his ideas are quite out of the box. He's like a maverick, and I think that characteristics is something which I was very attracted to, because in many ways I do the same thing. When 9 out of 10 people tell me not to do something, I do it. Because you believe in it. You believe it can make an impact. So I think we are kind of impact driven rather than short-term results driven. And I found that somewhere there was those things in common. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always inspired by him, I'm motivated by him. But these are external motivational factors. What actually drives me beyond, say, an Elon Musk is my grandfather, my great-grandmother, because those things have actually made me do something. And if you see on YouTube nowadays, there are so many people, motivational speakers and all of those things. In many ways, it's just, in my view, it's entertainment. After that particular session, or you see something on YouTube, you forget about it. It doesn't make you do anything in life. Yeah. So always look at what is happening in your own family. Maybe 2 generations ago, something great happened and you were unaware of it. And that is actually going to make you do something in life.
And talking about inspiration and YouTube videos, I mean, are there any channels that inspire you? Are there any books that inspire you? What is your go-to?
Very honestly, I mean, I don't know whether you want to hear this answer, but absolutely nothing. I don't read any books, right? I don't follow anyone. I don't, follow any channel, no motivational speakers. The only thing I do is, get fully involved in my work. Faith in God. I pray. I'm very spiritual. And I think that is more important than reading any book. And my grandfather and my dad have always told me that, if you engage in faith, everything comes to you, get all the knowledge. Obviously, you need motivation, but so I keep myself very disciplined. And, there are too many motivational speakers in this day and age. And I think our Gen Z is very confused. Every day they check somebody new out. They're like, oh, look at this guy or look at this person. Everyone is giving contradictory advice every single day, and our youth is in a state of confusion because of this. When we were kids, there was no confusion. At least that's a great thing. We are bombarded by so much information and knowledge. The kids simply don't know who to follow, what to believe in. So I think we need to keep it simple, and that's why I stay away from all these things.
Nikhil, philanthropy is a large part of your family, a large part of your company. What are the causes you support, and what is the message you have for other people?
See, I think the biggest learning for me throughout my professional business life so far, and after speaking to so many people in this field and talking to my dad, my grandfather, one thing I've realized is that the ultimate goal of business is philanthropy. If you start business on this note, any business you do will be a guaranteed success. If you start a business because you want to make money, you want to buy a good car, you want to buy a good house, you will still succeed, but that success will not be worth it at the end of the day, or it could plateau off at some point. If you want to be prosperous all your life, you need to know what the end goal is. The end goal is philanthropy. Now, I'm very inspired by the late Ratan Tata sir, who had this philanthropic mindset. Look how big the Tata Group is today, right? Look at their philosophy. So I'm inspired by these kind of thought processes. So philanthropy has always come naturally to me and my family. We've always contributed, and we believe that is the end goal. How much money one would need? You have a decent house, you have a decent life, you have good, people around you. Life is sorted. You don't need more than that. Beyond that, where will you spend your money? That is a big challenge. So I think that is very important. In terms of what I get involved in, we have our NGO called the Matanand Welfare Foundation, where we engage in providing education to underprivileged children, especially in our first villages as in the border villages, which are often bombarded because of border conflicts. We engage in healthcare access, projects, social causes, women empowerment. Recently, we did a project in a village just near the LOC, in a village that was recently bombarded by because of the conflict in Pahalgam. So these are the things that we get involved in through our NGO. And apart from that, we're always trying to contribute in whichever way we can, wherever we feel we can contribute in a positive way, to do eye camps, for example, to do awareness campaigns for the public. We do something called as a National Myopia Week, which I'm very passionate about. We also did something called as a National Hearing Week. These are the issues which people don't know about, but which causes a huge problem when people actually experience it. So I think philanthropy is basically part of our business plan, and we try our best. But I think that there's a long way to go.
Thank you, Nikhil. And I'll ask you the last question. If we were speaking directly to young entrepreneurs or young professionals, all of them who are eyeing the healthcare industry, what would you ask them to do differently than what the current generation or the past generation has done?
My only advice to them would be think innovatively. Research, create something innovative that will help the people around you. The market may say something, but look at what will happen in 5 years, in 10 years' time. Do something what is actually needed, right? And then once you create a product or a service that you feel would have value to people, make sure it is cost effective, it is affordable, and then make sure you know how to shout really loud about it, and stick to your passion and your gut instinct. A lot of people will guide you, a lot of people may misguide you. Fair enough, wherever you feel the guidance is right, adopt it. Wherever you feel you're being misled, have a reflection or realization of it. But ultimately follow your passion. The money will come. Everything will come your way if you follow your passion, and I think that's it really. And I think ultimately the good part is that our youngsters are very creative, are very innovative. They don't want to copy paste anymore. They don't want to have a Me Too business. They want to create something new. I'm not saying create even in the product, but even in their marketing strategy, they're very innovative, So I think I'm very kind of optimistic about our youth in India. So my advice is the same thing for everyone, that take calculated risks in what you want to do and stick to your passion. Don't give up. Life will never be an easy journey. Some people, it takes them 10 years to make a business successful. Some people may experience success in a year, but stick to what you have to do, and eventually things will go your way.
I thank you, Nikhil, for your time. Your very thought-provoking and yet very grounded thought process that you have throughout this thing. I'm sure this is an episode that people will remember in a lot of ways because of what takeaways they'll get from it. And I have a lot of gratitude for your time and your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I thank you for watching Pills in a Pod. It's another episode with lots of learnings, lots of takeaways. And if you found this interesting, please share it, because this is the only way we can grow. So thank you again for your time, and look out for another episode of Pills in a Pod.